So how do we cope with all these stressors that we come into contact with? Well, a stressor really is only a stressor based on how you appraise it, for the most part. Okay, unless we're talking about some physical thing that is being done to you. The way we interpret the events that happen, the things that happen to us, that's called cognitive appraisal. Do we want to appraise the things that happen to us? How do we want to appraise them? How do we want to think about them? Do we want to think of them as do we want to think of the final exam as a disaster waiting to happen, or do we want to think of it as a challenge that you need to overcome? Do you want to appraise a speech that you have to give as a potential for humiliation and embarrassment, or do you want to consider it as an opportunity to show your stuff, to show what you can do and how you can communicate with others and how you can help others? Then you're going to see it in those ways. You're going to not be as stressed about it as if you think about it as a disaster. So your appraisal is very important. How you think about the events that are happening to you. Something to also consider is that you might also have a reappraisal, a cognitive reappraisal. You might have a first thought like, uh-oh, pop quiz, oh my God, bad thing. Well, now you may want to step back for a moment and think, well, is it really that bad? I did do some studying, so I'm probably not going to fail completely. And even if I do, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'm going to take it as a challenge, and I'm going to try to do as best as I can based on the studying that I did do. And if I don't do as well this time, I'll do better on the next one. Okay? It's that second appraisal, that secondary appraisal, that reappraisal that makes a big difference. Your first appraisal might see it as, uh-oh, trouble. But your second appraisal will say, it's not that bad. I can deal with this. So always try, whenever you have that panic thought that first comes into your head when you encounter a stressor, see if you can step back for a moment and have a reappraisal and see if it's really as bad as you think. Optimism. This is a personality characteristic where you generally believe things are going to turn out okay in general. Well, this actually is very much related to good health. So if you are the type of person that looks on the bright side, that sees the cup as half full rather than half empty, you are actually in less of a risk for many health problems. And people who are optimists, as long as they have some grasp of reality here, the world is not all that good, not all that bad, but the optimist in general thinks things are going to turn out okay. And this kind of attitude is, in a way, it's just more or less it's a positive illusion. But as long as you still have some grasp on reality, this is a good positive illusion to have. So belief that things are going to generally turn out well is a good characteristic to have when it comes to keeping yourself healthy. There's also two basic categories of how we cope with stressors. We cope with it through problem-focused coping or emotion-focused coping. Emotion-focused coping is focusing on dealing with the event from the emotional point of view. So in other words, feeling better about the circumstance you're in. What does emotion-focused coping? The good thing about emotion-focused coping is that it allows you to, for example, if your heart rate is going out of control, helps you to lower your heart rate, helps you to kind of get your focus back in terms of your emotions, helps you get some control of your emotions, reducing anxiety. So in terms of reducing anxiety, that's pretty good. It might be a good thing to be able to reduce anxiety. However, what does emotion-focused coping do regarding the problem that you may be having? And the answer is it does nothing. Emotion-focused coping is just coping with your physiological reaction to the stressor. It does nothing to solve the problem, to make the stressor go away. So while emotion-focused coping is good at dealing with situations you have no control over, kind of like, well, you hear the situation I'm in, I'll just make the best of it. Emotion-focused coping is great. But in most cases, the problems that we encounter are things that we can actually do something about. And in that case, we should engage in problem-focused coping, where we want to be able to solve the problem. If you have an exam coming up in a week, and you're very worried and stressed out about it, okay? Well, taking a nap, watching a funny TV show, all these things are going to make you feel better, lower your anxiety, okay? But it's not going to help you on the exam. Problem-focused coping means you need to go and study. You need to work hard and do the things you need to do, have a plan, follow through with it. It takes the work, but you got to do it. So problem-focused coping is coping by attacking the problem itself. Oftentimes it's good to have a combination of both. But for things that you can control, problem-focused coping is definitely the superior response. For problems that are kind of like there's nothing much you can do about it other than cope with it, then maybe emotion-focused coping might be a good path, a more important path to take. Hardiness is a personality characteristic that is enormously helpful when it comes to dealing with stress. There are several components of this. Two components being a sense of commitment and a sense of control. So, for example, if you are engaged in a task which you believe is very important and you're highly committed to it, you do not want to give up. That's commitment. If you also believe that you have a sense of control, if you believe that your actions are going to have an impact, you believe that you can control your actions, you can control the environment that you're in to some degree. So if you believe that you can accomplish the tasks that you're setting out for yourself, that's control. And when you have those setbacks, when you have those problems, when you do get kicked in the head, how do you see those circumstances? Do you see them as threats that threaten your existence, that cause you to get sick? No. You see them as challenges that you need to overcome. Okay, problem occurred. Let's see what we can do about it. All right. And again, the thing about problem-focused coping, they're seeing the threats, they're seeing the stressors and problems as challenges. Okay. So many people enter into careers that are enormously stressful. For example, someone in this class may decide that they want to become an emergency room nurse. In the emergency room, people are coming in, all sorts of problems, many of them very, very sick or very seriously injured. Their lives are at stake. If you do your job, you might save lives. If you don't do your job, people might die. That sounds like a big burden to carry if you're an emergency room nurse. Furthermore, it's coming in all the time. An emergency room is going to be very busy. People coming in, people complaining, people crying, people scared, people who need immediate care. Get out of the way, hurry up. That kind of thing. Your speed is important. Gosh, it's a very stressful environment. So, how does someone survive a very stressful environment like that? Well, one of the ways is by having this hardiness. Hardiness is probably as a characteristic that many emergency room nurses have. They have a sense of commitment. They really believe in what they are doing. They see the importance of what they are doing. They're sticking with it. They're seeing that they're saving lives. That's pretty damn important. Okay? Furthermore, they have a sense of control. They're well trained. They know that they have the ability to help people, help save lives. They know that they have the ability to help with dealing with patients in effective ways. So they have a sense of control over their environment. They believe that they have the ability to do it, and they can go ahead and do it. When a patient comes in who has a serious problem, They don't see this as, oh my God, what am I going to do? This person is going to die in my hands. They see this as a challenge. All right, let's see what I can do to save this person's life. This is a challenge for me, and I'm going to do it. Well, the nurses who have a high degree of hardiness are probably going to do a better job, and they're going to be less likely to quit. They're going to stick with their job. And furthermore, they're going to be, even in a high-stress environment like that, they're going to be less susceptible to the diseases that come from experiencing too much stress. So they're going to have a strong immune system too. So it's amazing what a personality trait like hardiness could do even in a high-stress environment. Well, there are many stress management programs that exist out there. They talk about some in the book. I'm sure there are a number of them that are online, some of them legitimate, some of them less so. But the good ones rely on the stuff we've learned already in psychology in terms of being able to help people manage stress in an effective way. So let's see, how can we become healthier? Improve, we can be more physically active, we can exercise, do things that involve exercise, and do them as a habit, do them as a routine, rather than just, oh, well, I think I'm going to exercise today. You're going to make it a steady routine that you can keep on doing. Eating right. There are a lot of good, tasty foods out there that are very healthy. Sometimes you have to prepare them yourself, maybe, but it may take more time, but it's worth it. And once you get into the habit of doing that, it may make it easier, again, as you continue to eat healthily. It's also good for your kids. If they see you eating healthily, they can follow suit. Quitting smoking, we've talked about a number of ways in which that can be done. Again, using the lessons you've learned from this chapter. There are a lot of things that you can do to help increase your chances of quitting smoking. So, bottom line, there's a lot that psychology can provide in terms of advice for people who want to lose weight, who want to quit smoking, who want to exercise more, who want to live healthier lives. Psychology makes a huge contribution to people and having a healthy lifestyle. And I hope that's a message that you get when it comes to understanding psychology. Psychology is not just about treating mental disorders. It's about living a healthy life.